Today I'm going to show you how to cook the perfect Sunday roast on your Kadai outdoors utilising the brand new Kadai Lid. Right, so the cut of choice today is the picanha. So this is known as the rump cap. There's only two small caps on each animal. This is a very, very sought after piece in South America. I love to cook it just because I love the flavour of the fat here. There's a really big, thick cap on it, and we want to keep some of that on there, but I also really want to use it to flavour some of my spuds. So I'm just going to trim a little bit down. You want to leave at least sort of 1/2 centimetre. We're going to use that to make the most incredible potatoes. Just going to trim that off. Beautiful fat. This is aged 35 days from a Shropshire limousine. Absolutely beautiful bit of meat. It's a great advert for getting to know your local butcher because you won't find this in the supermarkets. Now, to help this render a little further, what we're going to do now is just score the fat with a diamond formation all the way across, and that's just going to help it render down and become super crispy for when we finally serve it up. And then flip around and just do the same again. Around about a centimetre and a half maybe in between the lines. Salt. Now we need to make sure we give this plenty of salt to begin with because the seasoning is only going to be on the outside. Okay, so it might look like a lot of salt, but it's actually not going to taste very salty because we've got to make sure the seasoning gets right down into the meat. So loads of sea salt on the underside. Liberally hit it with pepper all over and get that worked right into the meat. Now I like to let that sit for around about ½ an hour, let the salt do its thing. You'll see it starts to dissolve, so it's the perfect time to set up the barbecue. Okay, so just added some extra unlit coals either side of the lit pile, just for some continuity of heat. I'm going to also add 1 log of wood, and that's going to provide some smoke to flavour our beef. Next, we'll just drop in our griddle and centerpiece. This is going to allow us to get in and out if we need to mess around with the coals. Then we add the ring, which just sits right over the top of the bowl. And then just to secure it, we just slide it into the rivet of the Gothic stand. Okay, then we're going to take our picanha and we're going to go fat side up, and the fattest edge of the cut is going to go closest to the fire, like so. Then we add our lid. I'm going to keep an eye on that and cook it until we hit an internal temperature of just below maybe 50°C to serve it medium rare. So as the Kadai doesn't have any lower vents, this has been cleverly designed so that all the way around we have this gap of about 1.5 inches, and that allows the air to still get in and make sure that your fire doesn't go out. Right then, let's see how this is doing. So lift the lid off and that just sits on the back there. Now you can see this looks absolutely amazing. The fat's dancing, but what we need to do is check the temperature. We always cook the temperature and not the time of barbecue, and we're looking at hitting this at around about 50°C. So at the moment in the thickest part we're on 35, so we're nearly there. What I'm going to do though is just turn this around now, because as you'll see we're getting a nice bit of crust on that outside, and so it's time to even that up. So I'm just going to turn it around so that the next thickest side is nearest the heat, and the lid's going to go back over. Right, one last temperature check. Yeah, that's hitting nearly 50, so for me that's time to come off. We're going to let it rest. Right then, we're also going to make cauliflower cheese because I absolutely love a cauliflower cheese with my Sunday roast. So to make the cheese sauce, we're going to take a pan just over a sort of medium heat, add in about 50 grams of butter. The butter's melted, we're just going to add in a ladle of just plain flour. Just work that down until it's smooth. And then the trick to a good cheese sauce, or to make a white sauce and bechamel to begin with, is just to add a little bit at a time. Otherwise you're going to find that you get lumps, okay? So just work that out. So almost go back to where you started within seconds. And again, we're going to keep this going until we've got that McDonald's milkshake consistency. And now we're going to add 200 grams of cheese. We've got 100 grams of mature cheddar and 100 grams of double Gloucester. I like the colour of the double Gloucester. So get that straight in the pan. Melt that down. So that cheese is all melted, or near enough. I'm going to add in some naughty American mustard. Okay, so this is the consistency I want my cheese sauce to end at. But because it's going to cook on top of our cauliflower, what we're going to need to do now is just add in a little bit of milk to bring it a bit looser than we'd like it to finish. Probably another 100 mils. Just work that in. And then, so that is kind of a little bit loose now, but as I say, when it cooks down, it's going to be just perfect by the time you serve. Okay, you're going to take the smallest skillet of the set of 3 that Kadai do, and we're going to drop a parboiled cauliflower whole in the middle. Then we're just going to take that cheese sauce and we're going to pour it all over the top. Because you can never get enough cheese, we're just going to go for a little bit of Parmesan on the top to finish her off. Okay, next up, we're going to take the big skillet, get that right over the heat. Going to hit it with a little drop of vegetable oil, and then we're going to take that fat that we saved from the picanha, the beef fat, and get that in and just render it down until it's all kind of dissolved. Next, I've got some parboiled whole baby carrots and some Maris Piper potatoes. I'm just going to throw in some rosemary before they go in, get some flavour in that oil, and then in go the spuds and carrots. We're just going to work those around. Okay, and finally, a giant Yorkshire pudding. So, medium skillet, get it super, super hot. You want a good glug of oil, maybe 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, once the fat's really hot, pour in that freezing cold batter. There's something incredibly satisfying about doing this. Lid down. See you in about half an hour. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've had a little peek and these are looking insane. Look at those. Okay, so just to finish, we're going to take one of the Kadai grill trays, which this just stops anything small falling through the grill plates. So we're going to add into there, I've just dressed some tender stem broccoli, just with a little bit of rapeseed oil and some salt. Just going to char those off. I'm going to take our picanha, which has been resting for some time now. We're going to go fat side down, straight over the coals. Now you need to keep an eye on that. We're just going to crisp up that fat. We don't want it to burn, so stay with it, because as soon as it starts to render, we're going to see some flare-ups. Oh, wow, look at that. Just going to get some heat back into it. It's been resting for some time. We stopped it a little bit before where we wanted it to be temp-wise, so this is not going to hurt. Okay, so I'd say that these are done, just getting a nice little bit of char on the edges. You don't want to overcook them. You know, I like my vegetables a little bit crunchy, keep all the goodness in them. So they're going to come off. Then we have, of course, our cauliflower cheese, which I'm just going to tempted to just load straight in to the Yorkshire pudding, like so, and pour that all over the cauliflower. And now for slicing this picanha. So we're going to cut against the grain. You can see the grain is running that way. So to get the most tender slices, we're going to cut across that and straight in. The edges may be a little bit cooked, but in the middle, we should have perfectly blushing, beautiful roast beef. Look at that fat cap that's still rendered down on the top. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is a great cut for serving to the family. If you've got somebody who doesn't like it quite so rare, the middle bit is usually really juicy and pink, whereas the outside bits are a little bit more done, so you've got a bit to suit everybody's taste. Okay, so now we're just going to serve this up. So I'm just going to take, look how deliciously tender and juicy that is. Load up some tender stem and some of those gorgeous roasties, a couple of carrots, and then the finale, sliced into this cauliflower. And there we have our fire cooked Sunday roast on the Kadai, picanha cooked to medium rare, a cauliflower cheese, Yorkshire puddings, roast potatoes, roast carrots, and charred tender stem broccoli. What more could you want on a Sunday afternoon this summer?